Hello, we have a full moon lunar eclipse, excuse me, coming up. It's actually here in San Francisco. It's at 12:05 p.m. tomorrow morning. That's Friday, September 16th. It is much happier, much better than the new moon that we had a couple of weeks ago. Uh, in part because one of the aspects that made that past new moon so intense, a long-term aspect between the heavy, hard-hitting disciplinarian planet Saturn and Neptune, it's more or less opposite, is waning. That aspect is waning. However, it hasn't completely disappeared. So some of the same fear and heaviness that we felt then, it is still present. So we may feel that while sort of that we should feel better than we do feel, there can be a kind of residual exhaustion. And at the same time, again, this aspect is waning. It's not completely out of place. And there's some other milder but nonetheless significant aspects also happening that all conspire to create some conflicting senses. Nonetheless, it is the beginning of a better time, in part because Jupiter, the planet that represents benefits, has just moved into the friendly, happy, beloved by all sign of Libra. Jupiter likes to be in Libra, and Libra represents art, pleasant social gatherings, beauty, justice as well. And so it can feel a little bit more like a party time, although again, we may not feel this quite yet. And also this can signify a beginning of us starting to come to our senses, a little bit more of the balance evening out in this political sphere, more of the truth coming out, more people actually paying attention to what is real, as opposed to being overwhelmed by residual anger and fear and a need to have things different no matter what, to break all the glasses. So rather than be caught up in our own personal anger, fear, paranoia, and be willing to listen to whatever it is that we want to hear, there can be much more of a desire to actually hear the truth, which is good with the debates coming up. Let's hope that plays out by then. As I said, it's not an entirely sunny time yet because Jupiter has just entered Libra, and there is still a residual heaviness. And as well, there's another aspect that brings some difficulties as well, that involves the planet of Venus, Pluto, and Uranus. And this is particularly difficult if you have any financial issues. It too can bring about some more of the same fear, concern, kind of panic or worry. And then one final aspect is that we are in the middle of Mercury retrograde. Now, Mercury retrograde in and of itself, as I am always saying, is not a deal breaker. It is not responsible for all of the problems that people associate with Mercury retrograde. However, right now, Mercury is in opposition to Neptune, the planet of lies and dissembling and falsehood and illusion. So Mercury retrograde is always a time when one has to be very careful about making decisions, about signing contracts, or about what one hears and what one presents to the world, what one communicates, the communications that one gets. With Mercury in this problematic aspect to Neptune, and still not out of reach of a problematic aspect to Saturn as well, there can be more of a tendency to jump to decisions or conclusions or to say things that really shouldn't be said. This is really a bad time to make some big pronouncement or make a major decision without thoroughly investigating all of the aspects that need to be investigated. It's very likely that if some sort of major decision is made at this time, that it won't follow through the way that it's supposed to, that there are more facts, more information that need to come to light, and it can be very ill-advised to be trying to make major decisions or sign major contracts under this Mercury retrograde. Now, if it's a decision already made, that's not a problem. And also, it doesn't affect everyone equally, of course. Mercury, Neptune is in the sign of Pisces and Mercury is in Virgo. So those signs, and Sagittarius and Gemini, those signs are particularly affected. It also, I didn't mention this in the last, not everyone has been equally affected by the difficult aspects. Tauruses in particular have had not such a bad time generally. And Aquarius as well could be doing, pretty good. They may feel, if you're one of these signs, or certain Aries, you may feel, I don't really understand what all this, all these problems are about. And also the same goes true for also Scorpios as well. And it depends upon your chart, not just your astrological sign, but what other planets are in your chart and how they're configured and all of that. But it is an important time for everyone, nonetheless, to be very aware of finding out all the facts before you make some sort of major decision, especially a major financial decision, under a Mercury retrograde, under this particular Mercury retrograde. And having to do with property too. That's actually a very important one. So let's see what else. What else was I going to say? Again, just to recap, we are entering a period that should be more balanced, more clear, less panicky, and sort of fear-prone than we have been through. And we may not feel it yet, and we may still feel somewhat exhausted. There may be specific issues that are coming up that are still sparking that sense of fear and anxiety. It's mostly the case that we kind of have to hold on right now, that these things will clear, and that there's still something of a tendency to be overwhelmed by falsehood, to not to give in to paranoia or anxiety based on incomplete information. And that's especially true also because it is a lunar eclipse. So that can have the effect of kind of dulling your emotions, or conversely, or even at the same time, kind of sparking, again, a sense of panic or irrational emotions as well. I've said all the negative things because it's the negative things that people most have to watch out for. I will again remind you that we are approaching a more balanced, a more positive, a generally more congenial period of time in which many of the difficult aspects that we have been struggling under and that have been peaking are waning. And on that happy note, I can assure you that the next new moon in 2 weeks is much, much happier, much friendlier, and much more social and enjoyable. So have a good few weeks and get some rest. Talk to you soon. Bye.